Joining us on the line is Jan Scannell, the CEO of Distell. Thank you so much, Jan, for joining us today. Let's touch into your numbers. We had headline earnings rising 1.2% to 630.6 million rand, compared with a drop of 1.9% in the previous half. Dividend of 124 cents per share. I was chatting to Andrew Ditbener a little earlier, and he alluded to these results being quite positive. Let's start off with your overall perceptions for the period.
It's been a difficult period. The market has remained under pressure both locally and globally. And the circumstances, we are reasonably satisfied with the growth in volume that we've seen. There's been pressure as a result of the strength of the rand from our export earnings. So all in all, I describe this result as reasonable under the circumstances.
Well, looking at your margin, and yes, slightly lower, what we saw 13.8% from 14.3%, do you expect margins to come down further?
It will very large extent depend on what happens to the value of the rand. If the rand should remain at the levels that we've seen towards the end of the reporting period, it will have a negative effect on margins. However, if the rand should weaken during this period, we shouldn't see a further deterioration in margins.
At what level would you like to see the local currency where you can say you feel comfortable about operations as a whole? We did see the rand hitting 7.34. We've now bounced back to around 7.25. Where do you want to see the local currency?
We would probably be comfortable around about 7.50. We're not really in favor of a very weak currency because that has negative effect on cost structures eventually.
Well, looking at your Africa operations, and we saw sales volumes increasing by 1.6%. You're talking about a more favorable sales mix. Tell us a little bit more about this, because we also know that competition is starting to become relatively interesting on the continent.
This African continent is attracting attention from everybody, but it's a very exciting environment in which to be active and in which to build brands. We tend to focus on the higher price levels within the African market. And we do believe there are some real opportunities left for us for growth within Africa.
The wine market also quite interesting, and we know that Europe has had its own set of troubles, and this has hampered exports out of South Africa. What territories are you going to be focusing on with regards to wine to try and see a significant turnaround there, or are you going to just try and see a recovery in Europe and just perhaps hang on?
We've got to hang on in Europe. The market is just too important for us to walk away from the European market. So to a large extent, to be successful within Europe, you've got to look at efficiencies in their own structures and keep your costs down. The newer and more exciting markets of the world are probably the newer world. Africa, is already referred to, is a very exciting market also for growth for wine sales. And if we move outside Africa, we believe markets like India offers exciting opportunities, slightly longer than China must offer opportunities for markets. So we will actively explore also the new possibilities on a global basis.
We had retail sales out today hitting 8.3% year on year in December. Given that we're starting to see a bit of a recovery, particularly in South Africa, whether it is sustainable is still a very big question. But what are you expecting for the rest of 2011? What message have you given to investors?
We've over the years learned that alcoholic beverages tend to lag behind in every upturn in the economy. Consumers probably tend to, in the first instance, invest in semi-durable goods before they move to fast-moving consumer goods. So we would expect, as we said in our forecast, that the alcoholic beverage market will remain under pressure for the immediately foreseeable future.
Thank you so much, Mr. Scannell, for joining us today. Much appreciated for those insights. That was Jan Scannell, the CEO of Distell.